Good evening and welcome to Minnesota Made 2021. I'm Alexis Ludwig-Vogan and I'm a proud board member of the Minnesota Land Trust. Tonight you'll hear how the Minnesota Land Trust, even in this tough year, has continued to deliver upon its mission. I'm out here on this beautiful property in Marine on St. Croix, owned by Gene Kingston. This property is a haven for animals, and there's a lot going on. This property provides the perfect backdrop for our event tonight, because you'll be hearing stories about how natural lands are so important for the wild creatures that give us so much joy. Seeing the dedication of people like Gene Kingston, who conserved this property in 2017, is why I am so proud to be on the Minnesota Land Trust Board. The mission is so personal to me, and it's also so globally important. We're here to support a great cause, so I'll be bidding tonight, and I hope you'll join me too. Now I'd like to introduce you to Chris Larson, the Executive Director of the Minnesota Land Trust, and Glenn Flatabow of Flatabow Advancement, our co-host for tonight.
Alexis, thanks so much for that wonderful, warm welcome and for all that you and our board of directors does to make the Minnesota Land Trust what it is. And a special welcome to those of you that are joining us for the very first time. We're thrilled that you joined us and look forward to getting to know you better down the road. This event is really about supporting the land. Land does so much for us. It's the air we breathe, it's the food we eat, it's the water we drink, but it's also so essential to our spirit and to our souls. And we're in for a treat tonight. We have special guests that are here to join us. They're going to be talking about the importance of these natural areas, not only to us, but to all of the animals that live there. And, you know, whether you hunt or you fish or you birdwatch or you just like to spend time at the lake, my guess is you have a special animal that means something important to your life. And speaking of forces of nature, Glenn, I'm so glad you're able to join us tonight. I'm thrilled to be here with Glenn Flatabow. Glenn, thanks for joining us again for the 10th year for Minnesota Made. You have been a great supporter of the Land Trust. You, of course, are one of the best in the business when it comes to auctions, and so I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight.
Chris, thank you. I love the organization. I love being a part of it, and it's personal to me. I grew up on a farm. I absolutely think the world of our family farms, and the relationship has brought me a ton of joy. We're going to have fun tonight. We're going to learn a lot about our mission. It's going to be educational. Our auction, by the way, is open until 7 o'clock tomorrow. I do believe, Chris, we have the best lineup of auction items that I've ever seen at this event.
I agree, Glenn, and these are things you can't just get anywhere, and that's what makes it so fun. They're trips that we have that you couldn't go on otherwise. They're one-of-a-kind items that are handmade, those kind of things. So I encourage everybody to go bid after this show, and you can bid up until tomorrow. So, and for those of you that are new to the event, you know, what you need to know is that every dollar we raise tonight goes directly into our mission and to our programs. And that's something that, you know, we are so fortunate to have sponsors that can help defray the other costs. When you think about land and it's important to us and our mission, if you're new, one thing you need to know is that we are one of the only nonprofits that's working to protect land all over the state. We help restore land and recover those things that we've lost, like prairies and wetlands. And we also engage the next generation of conservation leaders so that in 10 or 50 years from now, there's still people who care about conservation and implementing it on the ground. And when you think about a place that you love in Minnesota, whether it's the North Shore or the lakes or maybe the Southeast Blufflands, just know that we are there helping to protect that and keep that place special. And so that means there's going to be more forests, more clean water, and maybe prairies growing where they haven't grown for 150 years. And speaking of prairie, I really want to now introduce Christina Geiger, who's a program manager with the Minnesota Land Trust, and Gene Kingston, whose property we're on today, to talk about some of our smallest creatures that matter so much, and that's our pollinators.
So Gene, tell me about your property.
Well, I've been here almost 50 years, and my parents used to own it, but I'm lucky enough now to be here. And this used to be all buckthorn in here. We wouldn't have been able to walk through here a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
And once I learned how detrimental buckthorn is to native plants and to birds, I decided to do what I could to get rid of it. So with help from my family and more recently Minnesota Land Trust and a company called Landbridge Ecological, we've been eradicating buckthorn, planting prairie, and also I've been spreading a lot of grass seeds, native grass seeds. And one of my favorite projects is an area that's called Suki Corner, named after my donkey.
When I see these things, I'm just so appreciative of landowners like you who improve their properties and make sure there's habitat for all the creatures, but especially those pollinators that we care so much about.
I know one really fun project was this pollinator called a pollinator garden. We put in about 400 plants a couple years ago. It doesn't look like much now, but ultimately it's going to be really beautiful and attract lots of pollinators of all kinds. And also I'm hoping to be a seed bank so I can spread around the rest of the property. This is a mature prairie here, about 20 years old. And again, it's in a fairly dormant stage right now, but in the summer it's just really alive, including buzzing with pollinators, and it's full of butterflies, and it really makes any effort that I've made so far worthwhile.
Oh, good. When I see all the things you've done on the property, it just makes me think how much one individual can do to make the world a better place, especially for the small insects.
Well, I've had a lot of help, and of course big one is Minnesota Land Trust, and your team has provided so much guidance and expertise since I've been connected with Minnesota Land Trust. And of course the conservation easement has given me such peace of mind because I do love all the animals, and I know that because of the easement I will never have to worry that the animals won't have a place they can call home.
Oh, well, good. Thank you so much, and thank you for your support of the Minnesota Land Trust.
You're very welcome.
Well, Jean, I am so thankful for you sharing your story. I mean, it is so fun to be on the property tonight for this moment, our Funded Need moment, where we can rally as a community right now. Our goal tonight, my friends, is to see if we can get to $100,000. We can do this as a community. We're already over $65,000, and so many families have pledged to support us right now. Just listen to this list. We have Ted and Angie Erickson who've given a gift of $15,000 tonight. That's a remarkable gift. Thank you, Ted and Angie, for your gift tonight. Colleen and Pam have given a gift tonight. Pete and Mary Sue, they're giving $10,000 tonight. We have Wood and Sue making a gift of $5,000. Austin at $5,000. Ned and Sherry Ann at $5,000, Jim at $5,000, Lori at $5,000, the list goes on and on. So we're over $65,000, but we do have a really important announcement right now. We have a match from David Hartwell and his family's foundation. We have a $15,000 match, so let's roll that video.
I think it's really important for people to have natural places to go for their own health, mental and physical. And habitat for wildlife and habitat for people are the same habitat. So supporting the Land Trust is a way of providing a resource for people that they can't always provide for themselves. And the Land Trust fills a niche that is so critically important for our society. We're interested in other people picking up the torch and building the long-term support for the land conservation movement, and that's why challenge grants make sense.
Well, and a huge and personal thank you to David and the Smickus Foundation for their support tonight. It's a big deal. So every gift is going to be matched dollar for dollar up to $15,000. Chris, two things that you've told me. Number one, you were impacted by COVID. COVID impacted the Land Trust. And the second thing that you shared with me that was really moving to me and kind of a call to action is the importance of acting now, that a window opens and closes in doing these projects, that a family is ready to go, but we have to have the resources to actually do it when they're ready to go.
Yeah, Glenn, there's no doubt that COVID has had an impact on all nonprofits, including the Minnesota Land Trust. And so that's why it's so important that people participate tonight and help us through this time. But the good news is, Glenn, we have a stellar year ahead of us. We have projects lined up. Conservation is ready. We have landowners that are interested. In fact, we have more landowners interested this year than I think ever before. Our staff is ready to go. And fortunately, we're able to leverage other resources. So every private dollar that we raise, Glenn, we can raise another $15 through public funding sources and through landowner donations. So this makes it one of the best investments you can make. For every dollar, we get $15 of leverage. And so that's why I think it's even more important that we get participation tonight. One of the other things I think that's so important, you mentioned this window of time closing, and that's real, Glenn. We say that our work lasts forever, but our window of opportunity doesn't. And so we need to work with these landowners when they're ready to go, and that's right now. And the other thing that is interesting with COVID right now is we're in a building boom. And whether it's Lakeshore or whether it's places like the North Shore, we are in a kind of unprecedented over the last decade of building, and that's why we need to act now. If we want to save habitat, we need to be going right now today. One of the species that really benefits from this work that I'm talking about are our bird populations. And so that's why I'm really excited tonight to introduce Nick Banks, Program Manager with the Minnesota Land Trust, and Kelsey Griffin, who is an interpretive naturalist with the Raptor Center as part of the University of Minnesota. Let's hear a little more from Nick and Kelsey.
The Raptor Center is part of the University of Minnesota, and it is a wildlife rehabilitation center for birds of prey, or raptors. We see about 1,000 of these wild birds every year, and our goal is to get them back out into the wild so they can do their really important job out in the environment of finding, catching, and eating small animals. In 2020, for example, we saw about 182 bald eagles alone, and so we're actually seeing these numbers increase as their population really recovers.
One of the joys of my job is working with landowners in southeast Minnesota, which is a biodiversity hotspot in the state. It happens to lie at the heart of the Great Mississippi Flyway, which is a migratory corridor for raptors like Max, but also waterfowl and many songbirds as they're migrating up and down from Central America up into the northern parts of our state. We're seeing trends of declines in our avian species upwards of 30% over the last 40 years. That's roughly 3 billion birds, billion with a B. Raptors and birds in general are quite literally the canary in the planetary coal mine and really can tell us about the health of the ecosystems that we're living in here. Max is really impressive. Can you tell us a little bit more about her story?
Yeah, so Max is a bald eagle who was hatched in 1999, was actually found in that same year, kind of later in the fall, when she was probably learning how to fly and hunt on her own away from her parents. So she was found on the ground. We don't know exactly what happened to her, which is fairly common when you're dealing with wildlife. But she did have a dislocated elbow and also had lead poisoning. Unfortunately, that wing just didn't heal quite well enough for her to fly and survive out in the wild. Luckily, she's a fantastic educator who's been doing a great job for the last 20 or so years of teaching people about bald eagles.
Kelsey, you work with a lot of school groups that come to the Raptor Center. What are some of the reactions you see as they come and look at raptors like Max?
It's really incredible. I mean, these birds make such an impression on people. There's so much history and folklore and just so many kind of images that we see of these birds all the time. So when people get the opportunity to see them up close, and you can really see the gears kind of turning as they're thinking about what they can do to really help improve the kind of habitat and kind of welfare for these birds out in the wild.
What are some trends that we should be aware of?
The lead poisoning and bald eagles is a really big issue that we can see. A lot of these environmental contaminants. Another trend that we are tracking is that habitat loss.
Thanks for sharing that, Kelsey. I know that really motivates me to continue to do the work with landowners to protect and restore these areas that raptors and other avian species need to survive and thrive.
Yes, thank you so much for working with us. We're really excited to continue working to preserve the habitat that we have for these birds.
Chris, I am going to be honest with you. I would never be that calm with 10 pounds of raptor on my arm. I never would be. But when we look at all the benefits of this work and we travel kind of around the state and we're thinking of southeastern Minnesota, Lake Eagle country, I think we need to talk about our auction items tonight because our first auction item is actually a trip to southeastern Minnesota to go fishing.
Yeah, this is a great auction item. Sold well last year. We're excited to bring it back. And this is special because we have two special guides with Hansi on our staff and Alex from Patagonia. You will be staying at a bed and breakfast, and it's down on a protected property in southeast Minnesota called the Granary, and it's called, bed and make your own damn breakfast, so you'll have a wonderful place to stay. And again, you will have a fishing trip that's kind of tailored to your expertise. If you're a beginner, they'll take you out. If you're an expert, they'll take you out. So it's going to be a great trip, and the benefit is you also get some Patagonia gear along with it. So just a special auction item.
It is a special item, and I appreciate that you've offered to clean the fish, Chris. So thank you for doing that. Thank you, Hansi, as well. Yeah. Our second item tonight, I think the world of her. She's a James Beard award-winning chef, Beth Dooley. She's put together an in-home dinner for us tonight. It's a popular seller every year. It's a great item.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's come to our event. She's supportive. But the great thing is when you go have a dinner with her, she comes out and tells you about the food and the local importance of food and also how that ties to conservation. So not only do you eat a wonderful food and spend time with your friends, you'll learn a lot, and that's a really special evening.
Matter of fact, I think last year it sold for about $5,000. Beth, I want to thank you personally for all that you've done. I absolutely think the world of you. It's a great item. Have fun with that. Our third item tonight is actually a unique item. It's a relationship that we've developed with Glacier National Park. Tell us about this package.
Yeah, this is really fun. This is the first year we've been able to do this. We love our conservation partners all over the country, so it's really fun to be able to partner with one like the foundation with the Glacier National Park. And this is kind of a backstage tour in a way of Glacier. You'll have several night stays within the park itself, one at a tiny home and one at a lodge. You'll have the opportunity to talk to somebody who's hiked all 700 miles of trails there. So if you need to know about a trail, you'll have that opportunity. And finally, you'll be able to take a bus tour of the park itself. So all kinds of wonderful things, and what a beautiful spot to spend some time. So this is a new thing for us.
Oh, it's just stunning. A huge thank you to Glacier for your support tonight. Again, you can bid till 7 o'clock tomorrow on all of these auction items. Every time you bid, you're making a huge difference. And by the way, Chris, when people are bidding and pledging right now, share a little bit more about the value of this work to other species.
Yeah, you know, when you think about cave paintings or children's books, animals really are at the center of all of that. So they do mean so much to our lives. And there's a lot of species, though, that you don't really get a chance to see or experience. So take lake sturgeon, for example. They're not something you're going to cuddle up to, but yet they're so important for so many reasons in our lives. And we're going to show a video here in a minute about that, but one of the things I think that's so fun about sturgeon is they really represent what the Land Trust represents. You know, they're resilient, they're durable, and they really stand the test of time. Some of these sturgeon live to be over 100 years old. And when I think about our work, Len, there's some things that, you know, I'm really proud of. And one is all the shoreline that we've helped protect to help, you know, really preserve species like the sturgeon. We've helped protect over 2 million feet of shoreline across the state. And Glenn, it's like leaving your car in the Twin Cities and driving all the way to two harbors and back. So that gives you some sense of scale about what we've done and how important this is. And so what I'd like to do now, I'd like to introduce Ginny Breedenbach, who is on the Land Trust staff as a program manager, and her friend Joseph Sutherland, who is a band member of the Lake Superior Chippewa, to tell us a little bit more about lake sturgeon.
It's rare in this world of species loss to be able to talk about a species that is making a comeback. I'm excited to tell you about a species that is swimming back from the brink of extinction. It is one of the most interesting and ancient species in Minnesota that you likely have never seen. What is it? It's Asapenser fulvescens in Latin, Name in Anishinaabe-Moan, or the lake sturgeon in English.
Name plays a really important part in teaching our children that life's important.
In the early 1900s, sturgeon was basically gone from the St. Louis River and Lake Superior due to all of the new industrial activity, logging, and things that were happening in this area.
In our communities, we talk about it being a very old being that was here before us. So, and that we leave its environment the way it is. So that's the reason why Indigenous people try not to disrupt the environment.
They have been an important part of the Ojibwe culture for many, many generations, and the Ojibwe have inhabited this area.
We look back 3 generations behind and 3 generations before. That's the reason why it represents the past and the future. It also represents the intelligence of the community. It represents family.
And while sturgeon at one time was an important part of their everyday cuisine, it is now used primarily in ceremonial foods because of its decline.
We utilize it in ceremonies. You know, we'll take just enough for our ceremonies, and we'll feed our community. As we're eating it, we remember the teachings that it gives us. That'd be our food source for the whole entire winter month. It was one of the most common dish for Indigenous people in the area here in Minnesota. So, and the numbers have plummeted, and a lot of people don't utilize it today.
One of our projects on the St. Louis River is right here at Chambers Grove, where we restored shoreline and spawning habitat to help support the recovery of the sturgeon and give them more opportunity for natural reproduction in the river.
We go down to the river and we show children, this beautiful being that lives in the water. He's down there, he's a bottom feeder. He eats, he goes down there and cleans the water for us so that we can live.
I love working on the St. Louis River estuary because it is such an amazing and unique resource. It supports so many different types of wildlife and all of the people that live in this area. It's a beautiful resource that we recreate on and we just rely on in so many ways. And also, it is absolutely vital to the health of Lake Superior. It's just a very important place for Minnesotans.
Chris, it's amazing when you really look at how many different ways your support tonight is making a difference. I mean, it's remarkable. As a matter of fact, if you want to see some of this work more up close, there's other action items that you can bid on, like the estuary tour that we have in the auction tonight. And I also want to profile, this is a knife, this is a big deal, and I want to do this, Chris, because it's special, it's become special to me now. Chris's dad is a knife builder. Chris, your dad made this knife for us tonight. Take a look at this knife. It's on our auction. Tell us about the backstory of your dad as a knife builder.
Yeah, he's always been a builder all his life, and one of the things he's liked to do is make knives and other things like that. And what you should know, Glenn, is this is one of only 3 remaining. He's not building them anymore, so this has timeliness to it, but it's really fun. I mean, he mixes several types of wood. There's brass in the handle, there's bone, and it uses kind of an exclusive finished carbide blade.
Well, and because there's only a couple left, the value is $100,000. So tell your dad the value went up super high. I actually want to bid on this, believe it or not. But we have other items on the auction that are super cool too.
Yeah, it's really fun. We've got other things that are hand built. So we have one of our staff members made buckthorn pen. So it's really high quality pen made from this wood that we're trying to, eliminate on the landscape. We have one of our volunteers has made us a hand carved tern. So a bird that we are working to restore in the St. Louis River estuary. And then Lowell Furniture has always been a big supporter of us. They have given us an outdoor couch or sofa, and then just so many other auction items, including board members who have donated cabin stays. So again, I encourage everybody to look at the list and bid after we're done tonight.
Again, the bidding is open until 7 p.m. tomorrow night. The one thing I will also say about these items, it's not just you're buying something. You will never forget supporting the Land Trust in this moment with these items. So every time you bid, you're making a huge difference. And Chris, we've heard so much already about the importance of this work, but I know you had a really special project last year, a really important project. If you could share with everybody a little bit about that project.
Yeah, last year at the auction, or at the event, we also talked about a project that we were going to complete, which was going to be our biggest ever, Glenn. And the good news is we delivered on that. In just February, we closed on a project of more than 4,000 acres of northern forest habitat, and which is important for so many reasons. But it's one of the, when you think of scale, that's really what I want to talk about with this project. We need to be thinking big like this if we care about things like clean water, climate change, and species. And that's why I'm so excited to introduce the next video here with Daryl Peterson, our Director of Restoration Programs, and Nancy Gibson, who's a co-founder of the Wolf Center in Ely, to tell us more about wolves and the habitat needs that they have.
Forests are crucial for clean air, clean water, and climate resiliency. But let's talk a little bit about how they provide critical habitat for species like the moose, black bear, Canada lynx, and the gray wolf. The International Wolf Center in Ely is a world leader educating people about the life and behavior of the gray wolf. They can tell us more about this elusive animal.
I grew up loving dogs, so naturally I was curious about their ancestor, the wolf. When I moved to Minnesota, I spent many summers canoeing in the Boundary Waters, always searching for wolves. I wanted to hear nature's best chorus, howling. Those wolves proved to be elusive, but I learned they're an integral part of our wilderness. Wolves suffered atrocity at the hands of humans, motivated by myths and lies. That almost led to their extinction. Wolves needed our help. One solution was to build the International Wolf Center in the middle of Minnesota's remaining wolf habitat. Our mission? Teach the world about wolves with science-based information. If we want wolves in our future, we need 3 ingredients: wildlands, healthy prey population, and human tolerance. I learned that wolves can travel hundreds of miles to seek a mate, find food, and establish a new territory. And it can be a treacherous journey without that important forest cover. But without a doubt, healthy habitat drives success for wolves. Habitat that's diverse and supports broad populations from insects to top predators. Every tract of forest we preserve is an opportunity for wildlife and an opportunity for my new grandson to explore. Those pups born in late April are now rambunctious furballs, tumbling over logs, investigating streams, fields, and wildlife, all in their new territory. But the forest enhances their security and survival.
The gray wolf needs large tracts of unfragmented forest to thrive. And when the industrial timber company started selling off large tracts of forest land, that was a real call to action for conservation organizations to do something about that. The Minnesota Land Trust really heeded that call, and we've been working with our partners to protect forest lands in northern Minnesota.
Wilderness is our endowment for future generations. As trustees of land conservation, we recognize the challenges, but we never question the worth of our efforts. The Minnesota Land Trust deserves our gratitude for their collective wisdom to protect wolves and other wildlife. Our appreciation is endless.
Chris, I will tell you, the first time I saw a wolf, it was like winning the lottery. Yeah. It's a big, big deal, you know. And tonight's such a great example of the depth and the breadth and the significance of this work all across the board. I mean, all across the board. We are inching closer to 100,000. We are inching closer every moment. Every time you bid and pledge, you're making a difference for us tonight. And I think of, you know, the coming year. We've got 50 projects lined up, 50 projects. And you think of the value and the benefit of those 50 projects. Mm-hmm. And I do want to ask you this. I mean, don't you feel as the executive director just moved by this work? I mean, that you just feel so thankful to be able to lead this organization.
Yeah, I feel so privileged. I mean, it's what's kept me working at it this long. I work, as you've seen in the videos, I work with wonderfully talented, driven, salt of the earth people, and that's important in and of itself. But this work is really about the gift that we're going to leave to our children and grandchildren. It's about the next generation. What's great motivation for me, Glenn, is to think about someone 100 years from now is going to be standing on a piece of property that we've protected and thanking all of us for all the work that we've done today. Because when you think we have lost already so many sounds of nature that we won't ever know, we don't want to lose any more. So whether it's the call of the loon or the wolf howl or even the whisper of a monarch's wings, we don't want to lose these iconic sounds. But the good news is, Glenn, I think you'll see in the next video, we're in pretty good hands with the next generation.
What sound does an owl make?
What does a wolf sound like?
Howl, 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 howl.
What sound does a duck make?
Quack.
What sound does a sturgeon make?
What sound does an eagle make?
I won't know.
What sound does a monarch butterfly make? Really?
Yeah.
What sound does a bumblebee make?
Yogi, what sound does a wolf make?
Chris, I will tell you, I love that video. Hire those kids, by the way. We need to hire them immediately. To everybody at home tonight, thank you for pledging. It means so much to me. It means so much to our state. I've been so moved not only to hear the difference that we're making for the land, for animals, but I will say to you, Chris, and to everybody at home tonight, for me and for, I think, most people, at the end of the day, it's about us. It's about people. And I think of this work and what it's meaning for families and what it's meant to me, and the opportunity for families to enjoy a piece of land forever. A good friend of mine, his dad put an easement on their property, sitting on their property in their hunting cabin, looking at this lake, knowing that it'll be preserved forever and that families and individuals will come out and celebrate that piece of land forever. It is a big deal. Two things, Chris. Number one, thank you for my relationship with the Land Trust for many years. And I want to compliment you for your leadership. You are a remarkably gifted leader. Thank you for everything that you've done for the Land Trust and our community.
Oh, you bet, Glenn. And thanks for being such an integral part of this event over the past decade. We couldn't do it without you. And we also really want to thank Jean for hosting us here today and Alexis for introducing us all. And also thank our title sponsor, Rahr Corporation, and Willie Rahr and his family have been super supporters of the Land Trust. But really, I want to thank everybody who has participated tonight. And I pledge to you, we are going to take the resources we get tonight and put them on the ground. So next year, we can tell you all of the great things we've done with that. So again, our thanks to you, and have a great night.
You've got to follow your happiness. Follow your happiness. If there is one thing in this life to remember, is follow your happiness. Now when you're lost in confusion and you don't know your no from yes, this advice I would give to you: follow your happiness. Now it ain't easy being human, and yet life can be so delicious. So much pleasure, so much pain. Sometimes I can't tell the difference. So once in a while I stop and let the rest of the world pass me by. In the quiet of my heart, I find the reason why. You got to follow your happiness. Follow your happiness. If there is one thing in this life to remember, is follow your happiness. I mean, really, if it's all just a waste of time, playing somebody else's games, singing somebody else's lines, well, I'd rather die. I'd rather die. But I know when I feel happy, and I know when something's askew. When I'm happy, I'm living in harmony, and I feel closer to the truth. So I say, follow your happiness. Follow your happiness. If there is one thing in this life to remember, follow your happiness. 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 If there is one thing in this life to remember, is follow your happiness. Follow your happiness. You've got to follow your happiness. If there is one thing in this life to remember, is follow your happiness. Thanks, you guys. Take care.